It's the first proper week of film releases in January, and you know what that means. No more fun, just awards. You want fun? There's a How to Train Your Dragon sequel out in a few weeks. Otherwise, here's an emotionally wrenching drama about the later years of Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, I know they were fun, but, awards. You don't hate the player, hate the game, alright? So, Steve Coogan's Laurel and John C.Reilly's Hardy. Pretty easy sell, right? So, Stan and Ollie opens with a look at how the business of being stars inevitably drove a wedge between, the most iconic double act of their day. Before it then jumps forward, 20 years to their final tour when they performed in the music halls of England with the sort of goal of impressing this potential London investor and getting their long-gestating Robin Hood comedy off the ground. The fame wasn't quite what it was by that point, so there was loads of empty seats in the theatres and the like that. Loads of people just didn't show up for them. But the hopes for that sort of bright future they have are dashed also by, Hardy's failing health, which kind of could take him out of the game entirely, and Laurel's resentment over attempts by, outside forces like the studios and whatnot to replace him years earlier. It's something he stubbornly refuses to get over. Like I say, easy sell with the casting. I mean, certainly with Reilly, who's just been on this spree lately with these really great roles that he seems to just effortlessly find the heart and soul in. I mean, Coogan's great too, don't get me wrong, but his performance here gets really quickly hobbled by the actor's kind of persistent inability to land on any kind of an American accent that works. I mean, I know, it's not really the kind of thing that you should dwell on, but it's such a poor job, especially with someone with the star status of Steve Coogan, It's just such a poor job that you never quite manage to put it out your mind entirely, and you kind of spend the whole time wishing he'd just use his actual voice and we'd kind of been allowed to reconcile that instead, like Kevin Costner did as Robin Hood, kind of like that. But, they're both class acts, can't fault them, and it's really obvious from the jump that they've, really deeply entrenched themselves in, the nuance and the grit of not only Laurel and Hardy's comedic performances, because, damn, there are some, really great recreations in here, really faithful, brilliant recreations, but also, the relationship between the pair, and the script's obviously got to play a big part in that, but what's effectively a love story between two brothers works as well as it does largely by virtue of the two actors sharing genuine chemistry that you can kind of feel end to end here. As for that script, well, it comes to us from Jeff Pope, who he got an Oscar nom for co-writing Philomena with Steve Coogan a few years back, and on the page, this is nowhere near as strong as that movie was, and I'd be hard-pressed to say that Stan and Ollie has a genuinely great story to tell, but where it does work is as a bona fide character drama, and in fact, to put it in recent Oscar terms, think back to Hitchcock a few years ago, not a great movie, but some decent character writing in there, and some great performances kind of allow it to be kind of pretty acceptably passing for one. I mean, Stan and Ollie's exactly like that, but with a really crappy Steve Coogan accent occasionally. Directorially, John Baird, who directed Filth, which is a movie I absolutely love, he could not have created a more BAFTA-friendly flick if he tried. It's every inch the prestige picture, from the washed-down color palette, because black and white, to the almost kitchen sink staging of what's really this bittersweet comeback story. Laurie Rose, who seems to be Ben Wheatley's man of choice these days for DP, he brings a strong visual game to the table. It's not big, it's not flashy, it's intimate, and especially in the sort of the music hall sequences, it's really quite an inspired choice that sort of amplifies not only the sort of cold emptiness of the missing portions of the audience, but kind of helps bolster the joy of the few people that are scattered in there too. I kind of loved how it was shot, and I was kind of captivated by it all the way through. The always delightful Shirley Henderson appears here as Hardy's wife Lucille, and she doesn't disappoint. I mean, her role obviously fits more into the character-driven elements of the story rather than the comeback element, and she acts the hell out of it. I mean, Henderson's one of those just really great actresses who can absolutely fool you with what she's got hiding and lying beneath, and Stan and Ollie lets her kind of play on that kind of brilliantly as the supportive wife who knows that the keys to her husband's happiness is is in his relationship and his connection with the audience, but kind of has to play the voice of reason regardless, and like, you know, be the bad cop. And it's a hell of a role for a hell of an actress. Meanwhile, American actress Nina Arianda, she gets a decent space to shine as Laurel's wife Ida. Apparently she was in Hannibal and Florence Foster Jenkins, things like that, but she just didn't ring a bell for me, to be honest. I kind of liked the little that she got to do, but because so much of Laurel's solo exploits in service to the comeback plot involves like him and third parties, she doesn't feel as prominent or as essential to this as Henderson gets to be. So I liked her though, and I really can't fault the performance. That's Stan and Ollie to a T, really. It's an incredibly likable and charming movie when it's in the hands of its actors and its characters. I wasn't overly wowed by the plot of it. But that plot's kind of dealt with on such a back foot to the character stuff that it's kind of neither here nor there in one sense. Like, academically, it's not a great movie. Emotionally and dramatically, though, it's pretty damn terrific. I mean, Coogan's the weak link, admittedly, but I mean, are there really any older British actors who could pull off an American accent? I mean, have you heard Anthony Hopkins try it? It's pretty bad. It's pretty hilarious. Anyway, it's worth seeing just for the double act. The moments in which they're kind of left to simply be Laurel and Hardy, those are outright magic here. I mean, I love the hell out of them, and I'll watch this again just to revisit those moments, to be honest. It's a very well-built film. The opening's got this tracking shot that follows the pair through the studio backlots. That's really fun. I mean, it's staged quite starkly so as to heighten the ridiculousness of its comedy, and it's just a robust, solid film. But it's kind of like an empty apartment in that it sort of decidedly needs the furniture that Coogan and Reilly bring to those characters to kind of make it livable. 3 stars from me, though. It ain't Chaplin, but hey, what is? And those performances are straight dynamite. The making of this must be astounding. And now on to a big budget action comedy. I'm kidding, it's still January, so awards movies. And this time it's Keira Knightley's one. Actually, might be the best performance she's ever given, too. So, Colette is the biopic of Claudine author Gabrielle Colette. She's the wife of Dominic West Parisian writer Willie, and she crafts the first of those best-selling Claudine novels based on her time at school. And because Willie's something of a brand unto himself, like he has ghostwriters and things, puts them all out as like by Willie, her work goes published kind of under the auspices that she only provides the inspiration for them rather than the actual work itself. And if you're thinking that this sounds weirdly like that Tim Burton movie Big Eyes, you know, that one from a few years ago, you'd be right to a point, but just wait for it, okay? You see, the crux here is that the success of the Claudine at School book, which is like the first one of those novels, that opens up the world of celebrity to them in a way that like neither Gabrielle nor Willie ever quite expected. And they become this sort of powerhouse couple, like presented to us in the same way you'd imagine Jay-Z and Beyonce would have been like in 19th century Paris. But being part of this sort of begins to take a toll on Colette, which is what she calls herself now, and basically because she's kind of denied the recognition for her work, and she goes on to form a number of largely physical relationships with other women, and it provides a sort of eye-opening evolution that she wants to incorporate into her work, like the future Claudine novels. And yeah, you can take a guess how well Willie take that idea, huh? It's a very powerful feminist story, definitely for today, and Keira Knightley's just a fireball in it. Without ever taking it too larger than life, she imbues the character kind of here with that undeniable quality you just encounter and recognize as belonging to someone genuinely special. Incidentally, if you're one of those people who went all gaga for Cate Blanchett in the green pantsuit, like for Ocean's 8, then brace yourself. And Dominic West's bringing the flouncy machismo he's refined so well in the past, and Willie's a pretty great character in the way he kind of swings from being kind of hapless and irresponsible to quite controlling and nasty. Like, he's never the villain per se, but he's certainly the antagonist holding Colette back from like real fulfillment. Shout out for Denise Gough too. Rather liked her as Colette's lover Missy. That woman's won the Olivier Award twice, and I didn't have a damn clue who she was. I'm just gonna own that. British director Wash Westmoreland's helming here. He gave us Still Alice a few years back. I kind of never really thought that got the props it deserved, and the kind of upscale fashion of that movie seeps in a bit here too, and he's made the really wise decision to utilize Giles Nugent's here for cinematography. Nugent's bagged himself a BAFTA nom a couple of years back for Hell or High Water, and deservedly so, that looked amazing, and he's not really skipped a beat here. There's loads of neat little visual homages to artworks of the time, and his Paris kind of looks terrific, even if the movie itself kind of falls into that age-old trap of, it's a period piece in France, so everybody's English. You know, that old chestnut. Colette's a pretty rousing story on the whole, like a career best from Keira Knightley, and it's stuff like that with everyone being English that starts to just annoy you after a while, and there's loads of these little things under the surface that just start to irk, like why the entirety of late 19th century Paris seems bizarrely okay with very public displays of same-sex affection, but within the confines of one specific music hall, Colette faces prejudice head-on solely because the plot requires her to. You know, things like that. It's also not particularly adept at defining its own sense of consequence. I mean, most of this story unfurls as a sort of way to stave off bankruptcy, yet Dominic West declares himself penniless so often it's a surprise he's not running for president. There's just no penalty to it all, because the film would rather dwell in the glamour of Keira Knightley's more scintillating relationships, which is a shame, because it winds up feeling a little bit toothless as a result. The story's at least interesting, though, and you've got Keira Knightley to hang your hat on, and Dominic West's always a hoot. I mean, it's a 3-star time generally. It's not something I'll actively seek out and watch again after the first time, but if it's coming on telly, I mean, I won't turn it off. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review.